I'm also not certain why you're arguing when he wasn't really... No, what the hell? I thought I was out of the Tron bracket. Though I guess this is just a random... Oh no, he might not be Tron. He played Tron in a league, but he usually plays Monarch in the challenges, I think, so this might also be the mirror. Or at least he played Monarch last week, if I remember correctly. I thought I was out of the Tron bracket after going 2-0 in the beginning of the tournament. Let's see. Yeah, Tron was his league finish, and then Koto Thaboros was what he played in the last challenge, and then the challenge before that, and Stumpy in the challenge before that. Well, this is a reasonable hand in the mirror. Kinda slow, but okay. And pretty bad hand against Tron, then I'm pretty much instantly dead if he keeps playing that. Okay. That is good news. I mean, my hand still isn't amazing, but Reaping the Graves is super strong. If I'm not getting Bojuka blocked, the Alchemist Vial helps with my Blind Talk. I think I just bolted or blasted, I mean, because they want to Skyfisher this. And I mean, it's not a great exchange, because I will have my own blocker on the board at some point for it to be irrelevant. But I also needed to get the card out of my hand for discarding to hand size, so... I mean, it can backfire that I did this, but it makes their Skyfisher super awkward. I could have waited for them to cast Skyfisher and then killed it in response to make it even more awkward. But then I'm taking 1 damage for no reason. Not certain. Pretty bad spot against being against my opponent becoming the Monarch. Pretty damn terrible. I think I'll just cast Thraben Inspector because it's the lower value card, and if they bolt it and then become the Monarch, at least I'm losing my weaker creature. But yeah, I don't really want bolt into Monarch to happen. Then I think I'm just lost. Oh yeah, they had that in the main deck. Sure. As a one-off, I remember. They had like almost the same list as I do, except they have one of these in the main deck. Allowing them to bounce it is pretty awkward as well, but I think I need to Glint Talk to keep protecting myself against the Monarch, as well as generate some traction. Fitting the Lightning Bolt into my turn is just pretty awkward unless I find an untapped land here. And then I get to bolt them and Better Screech, which both protects me against the Monarch and like floods the board in a way that is pretty difficult for my opponent to deal with. Sure, I attack it. I think it's pretty reasonable. Well, pretty happy about that, because unless they bounce it back, then they now don't have a... Because this interaction is pretty nice, so like having 1 disenchant in the main deck makes it so that all of your Skyfisher type effects become a lot stronger than they otherwise would be. So yeah, the reason I said I was happy is because I have Reaping the Graves already in my hand, and if their Bojuka block gets spent on an otherwise pretty useless graveyard, then potentially my creatures get to stay in the graveyard and I can blow them out with Reaping, which not very many people have in the main deck. So yeah, unless they have their one-off Electricity, I should be in a pretty great spot here. They get to blow this up with their Skyfisher, but then, with their Sanctifier, but then I'm flying over, so... And now they can't Monarch anymore. these. Still a little bit short on white mana for like cycling and Thraben Inspector and all of it in the same turn. I think I'll keep ignoring the Sanctifiers and not bolt it, just keep the bolt for my opponent's face. That is actually pretty decent for me as well. If I play this, I have 7 mana next turn. If I play this, I only have 6. So even though splitting up my mana is pretty awkward off of Boros Garrison, but okay. Take these a little bit slower because you tend to misclick on multiple tokens. I should probably just do like attack with all and then unselect the Thraben Inspector. Their own Battle Screech was one of the best answers they could come up with though, because that puts them back to board parity over a few turns, but they're still taking a ton of damage in the process because many of these birds are tapped now. Well, now we're pretty much exactly at board parity, but yeah, if they trade defensively, I get to become the Monarch. I want to do that off of the mountain so that my double lands are not tapped and I don't have to commit to the Palace Sentinels pre-combat. Yeah, bounce lands are a little bit awkward here. Okay. Yeah, pretty exact exchange of resources. But I'm just ahead because I did all of this earlier and they spend a lot of time on Sanctifier stuff. I think I'm actually willing to do this even though they get to steal it back. I'll just steal it back on my turn as well. And then if I draw like a bolt or something, I get to Alchemist while one flyer bolt the other flyer. And if they have to send their flyers in at me, then I get to also disable their blocker, get another Alpha Strike in. So unless there's like electricity from my opponent, this should work out pretty well for me. Sure. They have to send 2 attackers, otherwise they are vulnerable to a single lightning bolt from me. But then they're still vulnerable to lightning bolt from me because I will just have a pretty big swing back at them. Even if they stop me from attacking, I can still put a Sentinels again to steal it back. And then have like Prismatic Strands protection for that. But I'm 1 mana short of sacking this Palace Sentinels plus Strands. Can journey this, then I have even less mana available to me, but I am getting even more damage in. Yeah, that seems fine here. They only have 1 core Sanctifier, so they can't really punish me for this journey. Then swing with everything, keep Prismatic Strands protection open. They're low on life and I'm the Monarch. I guess they could have Prismatic Strands defensively here and stop my white creature damage, but then I just follow up with Palace Sentinels probably. And they have to make another attack. Yeah, Prismatic Strands for my opponent here would have been pretty awkward. Was not a lot I could have done about right now. Oh yeah, this bounce land are also pretty awkward. Can't sack my clue here because I want Prismatic Strands open. Echoing Rune. Yeah, Echoing Rune would be sick. I think even though this is super low impact, it's at least going to draw me a card. Or like going to stop them from drawing a card is what I was trying to say. And I have it open now as protection from like Electricity, even though they would have just responded to it. Yeah, so they can't have it now, but it's going to be useful in the future, potentially. When their best follow-up is like drawing another Battle Screech of their own. No, don't do that. Radiant Fountain is awful. Have you not learned anything? Let's look for some more removal. Though I can just stop this from blocking, I guess. So much of the burn would just go to my opponent's face regardless. Okay, let's not block with that. Jam. Sure. Go to 2. Sure. I'm very far away from Metalcraft, but it doesn't actually matter because Galvanic Blast already lethal. Okay, they very clearly didn't have Prismatic Strands, so let's kill them. Nice. Mirror. I think I boarded these out. And I want like Palace Sentinels. And this is like always interesting because like having multiple can be nice, and dealing with Battle Screech can be nice, and like attacking your core Skyforge into theirs and then Electric Rain can be nice, but it's like pretty low impact a lot of the time because it doesn't trade with any single card 1-for-1. So like this would be an interesting approach, I think. And I think opponent has a very similar list to mine, with the 1 Sanctifiers in the main deck basically replacing... Oh, they have a 3rd Battle Screech as well. So maybe I do want some number of Electricity then. I was also considering Serrated Arrows, but it's pretty vulnerable to the core Sanctifiers that we know they have. Well, they don't have a second one in the sideboard, that's interesting. Okay, so what would I do if I want to keep 1 or 2 Electricries in my deck to deal with the 3 Battle Screeches and just in general? Like they have a Rally the Peasants also, but they might be boarding it out. I'm not certain on that. I'm willing to cut a land in this matchup because resources get traded so much. But the Bojuka Bog does help with my Reaping the Graves. Well, let's cut like Faithless Looting Bojuka Bog. Sure. Yeah, I'll try this. Like the point is when all of us have like 10 Terminates and a lot of creatures that die very easily, it's difficult for either of us to have much of an advantage, and then we just play the game to 20 turns, and then whoever has more lands is going to have less spells. And it doesn't really come down to a lot of pressure in the early game to have lands. My hand is pretty awkward. It might actually be like close to a mulligan. I felt like it was a keep because these are pretty great, but they're only great once you've answered your opponent's early game, so it's possible it was a mulligan actually. Also, I'm pretty badly set up against Gorilla Shaman. Yeah, my opponent's opening was a lot better than mine, because they had something to bounce and I don't have anything to bounce. I boarded out a lot just because, like, well, I should have... What am I doing? Need to focus. No, this was complete nonsense. Should have just played a random tapped land, even though... No, I do want to get this onto the board because otherwise my mana situation is awful as well. They don't have red mana yet, interesting. Yeah, I think I just keep passing and set up core Sanctifiers for next turn. Hope that we keep the mana screwed. Maybe I find a boat for their Skyfisher and then everything's great. Or find my own Prophetic Prism or something. Well, that's a Sanctifier target. No! That's pretty bad for me, because I don't have the board under control. Probably just need the Sentinels and get the card that I get out of it, as well as having the better blocker. And then I hope to find a board so that I can Sentinels plus board their Skyfisher. That's not the type of board that I needed because I'm still pretty far away from. Yeah. I mean, I misplayed this and the hand might have been a mulligan. It was just bad from beginning to end. I mean, it's not ended yet, but I'm in a pretty bad spot because of all of this. Well, Prism helps a little bit. Might get me to Metacraft. But yeah, them being the Monarch is a huge blowout, and the board is so out of control that I won't be able to beat the Monarch for quite a while. Well, now I am slowly getting the board under control again, though. I think I want to bolt now for Prismatic Strands reason, though Prismatic Strands on defense is still going to be huge pain to deal with them being the Monarch. But I still have a way to steal the Monarch back at some point. When I ever have the board under control or find my own Prismatic Strands, then everything could be great. Yeah, it's not yet hopeless. Yep, that has been my experience with serrated arrows as well. Yeah, MJ can't really reset it. He was playing with the idea of having Ghostly Flicker, but decided against it, I think, because it was too situational. But yeah, I can reset it. That's even more insane in my deck than in his. Yeah. I mean, he gets to destroy one of my lands, but it's like worse than a Molten Rain at this point. Well, I can pick off my my Prophetic Prism at some point or something, but like not that big of a deal. I think it's still too early for me to Monarch. I guess I kill this and steal the Monarch, and that's actually pretty great for me. Yeah, they're not doing a great job of defending themselves. Well, I guess they can bolt off of the Prophetic Prism on my Skyfisher. That has to be the case. Right? No? Strange. Might just want Sanctifiers on defense. Because I still have a second one. So if they journey to nowhere me or something, I still get to run out the second one. Alternatively, I go like Prophetic Prism Glinthawk. But it doesn't do as good of a job blocking these. Yeah, I think I'll cast this. Because like clearly they don't have a bolt. I have no idea how you end up with no bolt at this point, but they don't. So their hand has to involve like multiple lands, multiple cycling things probably, maybe an Electricity or a Battle Screech. Really the Peasants would make some sense. Maybe a second Palace Sentinels. Yeah, Battle Screech makes a lot of sense. Not a lot I can do about it. They still don't have great attacks on this turn into my board, so I might get to stay the Monarch. Now we have to hope I find my Electricity. Come on, Electricity, then everything's great. Damn, yeah, now I'm in a little bit of trouble. Guess they still didn't have a lot of removals, so Glinthawk on defense. Not too bad. And I still have multiple draws a turn for finding my electricity. But yeah, I don't like my life total. If they find like they're really the peasants or something, I might just die here to this bird token nonsense. Yeah. Sure. I mean, I could have blown up their prophetic prism at some point, but then they would still just be bouncing Thraben Inspectors, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. This opens up my second Sanctifiers to do something useful, though yeah, I'm still taking a ton of damage in the air. Well, not a ton of damage. Yeah, it's not even that great for them to trade one bird for 3 damage unless they have a burn heavy hand, and we are already kind of determined that they were out of burn, though I have no idea how that happens unless we board some of it out. Come on, electricity. Making a clue into the Gorilla Charm is not that favorable, but I might need the Thraben Inspector on the board. I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry. I agree, the mirror is pretty resident sleeper. Like, both it's pretty swingy, and also, like, we're just trading resources back and forth until one of us runs out of useful things to do or gets burned out. Okay, I think I'll just play the Inspector. I don't really mind if they blow up the clue, I think. Like, sure, it's just like 1 mana for them to stop my clue, but I think I need the blocker on the board and the attacker on the board. So then I have a much better chance of taking advantage of the electricity, because then their board gets wiped and like my inspectors can attack into their inspectors and all of that. So I can more quickly switch into an aggressive role if I ever find it. And also, like, I have just more random blocking bodies on the board that makes it more difficult for opponent to steal Monarch from me. Still very interesting. Yeah, they should have just attacked with 2 birds last turn to steal Monarch from me, right? That seemed pretty strange. That opponent decided not to do that. To sacrifice a bird for a card draw. Come on, electricity. This Gorilla Shaman is just so mediocre. Fun and interactive. I mean, it is actually interactive magic. Like, you can't call this uninteractive. We're casting removal spells on creatures and drawing cards and like trading resources, engaging in combat. This is about as interactive as magic gets. Well, except for the Palace Sentinels, stealing Palace Sentinels part of it all. Yeah, I could have bounced the Sanctifiers. I just felt like I wanted the presence on the board more than I wanted the extra Sanctifiers trigger. But that might have been wrong. Okay, I don't have enough artifacts to Galvanic Blast a Sky for sure, because they have Gorilla Shaman activation open to blow up one of my artifacts. Well, they let me keep the Monarch again. That's pretty interesting. I think I'm pulling ahead here, especially because I do have electricity in my deck somewhere. And if they end of turn commit to blowing up one of my artifacts, I get to Galvanic Blast in response. Is that enough of a reason to not cast Glinthawk? Probably. Also allows me to end of turn electricity. So I'm mostly afraid of the Rally the Peasants. I have no idea how opponent has 7 cards in hand. Probably some number of prismatic strands. Wait, no. That was dumb. Well, whatever, I can discard these artifact lands. Probably should have bolted something end of turn. Not sure. Sure. They can bounce Palace Sentinels, but I have one. It is a lot of 2/4s. Yeah, sure, they're the Monarch. They could have accomplished that in easier ways. Sure. If they Prophetic Prism again, they don't have Prismatic Strands open. Yeah, it looks like they have Prismatic Strands. Though I do have the Palace Sentinels to just steal it back. Also, now they don't have enough Gorilla Shaman mana open to stop my Galvanic Blast. I think I should still be winning. A little bit afraid of getting burnt out somehow if they're sitting around with 7 cards in hand and not doing anything. Well, many of them are guaranteed to be Prismatic Strands. And the Reaping the Graves should be an advantage for me. The Gorilla Shaman is kind of not doing much. The bird tokens are sitting around until I finally find my Electricity, though they are scary with... Well, I guess the Prismatic Strands also protects from Electricity, so I would need to time it correctly. Sure. I'm behind in the decking race, also behind in time, that's a little bit annoying. So I should not lose this game, because otherwise I might time out. No! Well, I have Skyfisher for my Palace Sentinels, so I can steal it back. Sure, that's their 3rd Palace Sentinels, though they can also Skyfisher it. Yada yada. Truly fun and interactive. It's kind of strange that I haven't found a Prismatic Strand so far. So yeah, like, I might at some point have enough of a board presence where I can start Alpha Striking or something, but it just ends up being bad against the Prismatic Strands that we know my opponent has in hand. And they have enough burn left in their deck. Like, they got enough damage in with creatures and have enough burn left that I have to be afraid of them being the Monarch. Like, sometimes you can mill them out by letting them be the Monarch, but it's too dangerous here until I at least find my Prismatic Strength to keep myself alive. Infinity knows the secret strategies of the mirror. Just make sure that your opponent's Moto crashes and they time out. Though I'm pretty far behind on time, so they might survive a Moto crash. Okay, that sets up my Reaping the Graves. I guess that's my one big tiebreaker. I think opponent didn't even have a Reaping the Graves in his sideboard last week. And really the Peasants could be their big tiebreaker, where their attack is a lot more effective than mine for a single turn. I think I want at least one Prismatic Strength before I run out this Better Screech, because otherwise I just get hit by the Electricity that they're almost assuredly sitting on. Though double Electricity would also wreck me at some point when we keep sitting here forever. Thank you, Ghost X Empire, for your host. Teleportal? No, a Teleportal, they just Prismatic Strands my white creatures and I die on the backswing. That's not the way to win. Though it does fit the RTR too far meme. How many creatures do I have? Just this guy for sure. It's not so great. So I can maybe start attacking in the air and teleport it. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. We would need Flaring Pain for our teleporter. Then it's a 2-card combo that you can assemble in the mirror. Did they finally crash? No, I mean, they seem to be, it's an uncommon. Yeah, it would make sense because it's like way too good as a common. For draft, I mean. Yeah, it's uncommon. In both Return to Ravnica and Modern Masters. Okay. This might be risky. Okay, I'll send just the Green Talks in. Because, like, first of all, I can't make too big of an attack because it's bad against Prismatic Strands. But mostly I don't want to get wrecked by Rally the Peasants. Yeah, this is pretty much perfect for me. That was what I was hoping for. Well, they can Prismatic Transform. No, white doesn't do anything. You can't really shape creature combat in this matchup. That's the downside of the strands, because like both your creatures and your opponent's creatures have the same color. I think they could have blown... damn you, opponent. I was going to say, I think they could have blown up my Prismatic Prophetic Prism with Gorilla Shaman and they'd missed it. Damn, the Bodruka Bok with the perfect timing. So I still get to Reaping for 2, I think. It's possible that's worse than just letting this happen, and if they Prophetic Prism everything, if they Prismatic Strands, everything's great. If they don't respond, then I only have Stormcount 2. It's pretty awkward. I think I still have to do it to press a little bit of an advantage. But it's possible that holding on to the Reaping the Graves and aiming for 4 or 5 at a later point might be better. So that I just let this Bodruka Bok happen and then fill it with other creatures. Like, let these die. Sure. Yeah, this mirror match. Pretty strange. So we got rid of their Battle Screech without Electricity. And I do still have some Electricities. I'm the one decking out first and the one timing out first, so it's definitely on me to generate an advantage somewhere and find a win. But I still think I have cards in my deck that allow me to do that. The Prismatic Strands and the Electricities both help with that. But it's pretty slow going, and if I find too many of these cyclers before I find the cards that actually do anything, I am closer to decking out. God damn it. God damn this mirror. Have to stop cycling at some point. Yeah. So that I can still get enough attack steps in. Yeah, now they're destroying artifacts. I guess they just figured that the Prophetic Prisms don't actually matter that much. Where are my Prophetic Strands? Prismatic Strands? I didn't board them out, right? I have to check my sideboard for a second. No, I didn't. I have 2 still in my deck. So, like, I want those to protect my Battle Screech so that I don't just run into Electricity. But yeah, the number of attack steps I can get through my opponent's Prismatic Strands might be too small at some point. Because I only have like 8 more turns to live. Though I also have a lot of burn left in my deck. No, I don't. I have 1 Galvanic Blast, 2 Bolts. So that's 10 points of burn. And some of that can be prevented by Strands as well. Yeah, they're waiting to burn me out, that's true as well. I can definitely start to core Skyfisher this Windsguard Crack instead of any of the cycling artifacts, because I don't want to be cycling regardless, though maybe Sanctifiers is still better. At this point I would like for them to become the Monarch, though it's difficult because like whenever I make an attack and deal damage to them, I'm also taking the Monarch back, so I'll just go very aggressive in the air. I think that should be fine. I'm not even scared of the attack back. Sure. Yeah, they definitely have Electricity in hand and Strands, and then maybe some more burn that they're holding on to, I'm not sure. Okay, sure. This Gorilla Shaman has not actually done much. I mean, it has been activated a lot of times, but like in terms of impact on the game, it was pretty much completely irrelevant. Oh, they do have Reaping? No, they're just destroying my Prophetic Prism. Yeah, if my opponent has a Reaping the Graves, I'm also in trouble. Because then I think I might be losing this game and then timing out on game 3. Should just F6 during their turn, because I don't actually have Prismatic Strands. Yep, you killed my Sky for sure. Okay, they stopped aiming for burning out my face. I think they are now fully on the time me out or mill me out plan. Wow. Okay, that worked. Interesting. Sure. Is he going to destroy both prisms? I don't want to cycle. I have these 3 in my hand and I'm not going to cast them, I think. Yeah, he's missing the point. I was intending to bounce either this or the Sanctifiers, and I think I decided on this. Okay, sure, I'll commit. Yeah, I'll commit 1 Better Screech, but just the front side. And I should top deck Prismatic Strands at some point. But yeah, I think the number of attack steps I have left is going to maybe be a problem, though I figured I had 10 points of burn, right? Some of that can be strands, but they have to start protecting their face as well. Yeah, White Gary would be nice. White Gary would be nice, yeah. I have a second one? Sure. Unless they have a third one, it doesn't really matter. And then I get to Better Screech now. They should only have like 2 in their deck, right? Maybe 3. Do you want to become the Monarch or not? Then I have 11 turns to live and he has 10 turns to live. But I also have to beat all the burn. Okay, they decided to not become the Monarch. They decided to do become the Monarch. So they die in 10 turns and I die in 11 turns. Second Bodruka Bog, what the hell are you doing? But how much burn did they have left? I have to check that at some point. Okay, time for Better Screeching. I guess they got my flashback Better Screech that way. But I wouldn't never put Bodruka Bog in to my deck. I mean, more than 1. And even that one I'm skeptical of. How much burn? A lot of burn. So letting them draw their deck is not that great for me. Maybe this baits out prismatic strands also, because I don't actually want to be the Monarch. I do want to kill them with the damage, but I don't want to be the Monarch. Sure. Because now they die in 9 turns and I die in 10. Well, no longer. Now I die in 5 turns. So now I think I have to get there with creature damage and burning them out. Late to the party, though they do have more British creatures somewhere. So, yeah, where are my strands? Though I think my opponent's out of electricries, so not having strands might be fine at this point. I just need to make sure I burn my opponent out somehow. Well, this Glinthawk is super awkward. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm decking. Maybe I should not have stolen back the Monarch. I'm not sure. I do still have some amount of burn left in my deck, but also a second Electricry where I can potentially board wipe them. Well, one extra draw doesn't make a difference, I think. I need to get onto the board. Well, they can still blow it up if I want to Glinthawk. Yeah, I just wanted to play this and then I needed an artifact. Okay, I guess no. Yeah, this was just dumb. I should not have done that. Well, there's my strands. Unreal. Yep. Man, if not both of my prismatic strands and both of my electricries were in the bottom of my deck, everything would have been much easier. Now I think I just deck out against the number of prismatic strands that they have access to. 5 minutes. Well, I might still win a game 3 in 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't like their mana base at all. I agree. I have 10 points of burn. Well, I don't truly have 10 points of burn. Well, maybe I do. No, I can't play both artifacts. And yeah, I'm not sure if I can get up to enough artifact count to make Galvanic Blast into a 4-point burn spell. It's only a 2-point burn spell. Because this draws a card, so getting Metacraft is like pretty impossible. Yeah. What a weird match. I think I'm dead to the second Prismatic Strands. If they don't have the second Prismatic Strands, I think I'm fine. Definitely need to be protecting my creatures so that I at least win when they don't have strands. Come on. One-time dealer. Yeah, you can also... Now, I could Electricry down the Gorilla Shaman and then go for Metacraft. That would be fine. I don't think the Gorilla Shaman blowing artifacts up was a concern. Sure. Galvanic Blast now, win on upkeep. Come on, come on, come on. One-time dealer. I mean, I have 3 cards in my library. Okay, damn. Well, I guess Strands. Whatever, let's do. Oh no, they can. I should have done the one out of my graveyard, but sure. Doesn't make big difference. I mean, third Bojuka Bog gets both of them now. That is the reason to use the one out of my graveyard, but sure. I guess if they have Strands now while it's on the stack, I can still burn them out with the Galvanic Blast. I think I win. No, I guess if they have if they have Strands in hand now, I lose, because the Galvanic Blast is the bottom card of my deck. Okay, I think I win. What a game! What the hell? Okay, so I want the third. I have one card in my library, right? So I can let this resolve. Yeah. Holy moly! 0 cards in library. Not even close. Easy 2-0. Easiest 2-0 victory of my life. Man, I was so close to losing to decking. What the hell? If they ever had the second Prismatic Strands, I was just insta-dead. No, I didn't lose to third Bog, but it would have been like awkward. What the hell? Nice Gorilla Shaman though. That card is just not very good in the mirror. It's just not very good anywhere. Like, sure, it's good against Affinity, but Affinity is just such a bad deck that I don't want Gorilla Shaman anywhere in my 75.